So now we're going to move on to our week 2 high school football games, which Blake and I had our picks, We're going to see who did better this week. We're going to see, okay? And we're going to start off with D'Iberville and Gaucher. This Blake picked D'Iberville to win this game. I picked Gaucher. This game was at Gaucher. D'Iberville hammers Gaucher, 42-17 in that ball game. So that gives Blake the tally of 1-0. But D'Iberville gets that win.
Yeah, no, great win for D'Iberville, but obviously Gaucher had to go play up some levels, so it's a tough
Yeah.
thing, and Gaucher doesn't have the same roster they had last year. I think D'Iberville maybe just around the same as last year, just Gaucher's just a little bit pulled back.
And I believe that Gaucher is 5A. That's correct.
Yeah.
So would you say would that make you question their ability to compete in 5A?
When you say compete, you mean got back to the state title game?
I mean like working through the South because I how West Point's looking, I doubt it.
No.
But
Yeah, no, because Brookhaven is I think
yeah,
the best team
Brookhaven
in the
looks real
South, but
good.
it's not. It's yeah, and I don't think it's all that close. And they're going to play Madison this week, and we'll learn a lot about Brookhaven more than I'll learn about Madison. I think Madison's a solid team, but I'm curious to see how
Oh
Brookhaven
yeah,
plays when they play up. Yeah.
that'll be a good one. I'm excited about that one, and we're going to talk about that on Thursday as well. Give our picks on that'll be exciting. Real good. That's a real good pickup for Brookhaven, by the way, to be able to get a game like that. I know that's big for them. Next game was Hattiesburg and Laurel, which is a big rivalry game there in Laurel. And they battled that one out. Hattiesburg wins 31-18. We both picked Hattiesburg to win that game, so we were both right on that one, making that a 2-1 tally here. Hattiesburg, Hattiesburg was supposed to win this game. That'd have been rough for the Tigers if they would have dropped this one. But I know that this made you think that Laurel's not going to have a good year. Explain that.
Yeah, I just disappointed. But look, here's the thing about Laurel that could totally prove me wrong. A few years back, I think they went 1-4, 1-5 in their first 6 games because they're playing up in 6A
Yeah,
and they're
yeah.
playing up and they're playing, and then they end up in the title game. Now they lost to West Point, but they ended up in the title game. So kudos to Ryan Ernest and playing up and playing Hattiesburg, playing West Jones the first 2 weeks. I'm going to pull back on my laurels. Not going to have a good season yet. That's going to be a wait and see.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, you start off with West Jones and Hattiesburg, both bigger programs, and you take losses. And another thing too is that they're not losing by a whole lot either. I mean, 31-18 is it's not great or whatever, but you also take on a team in Hattiesburg that has a lot of talent. Yeah, so we got Oxford and South Panola. This is one that you picked Oxford to win. I picked South Panola to win. Oxford wins 29-13, so they pretty much handle South Panola. And so Oxford is a team that's a wait and see team as well because they're a 7A team and they're in a tough region. We've discussed on this show how competitive that region is going to be once they actually start playing and trying to find playoff spots there. But it just seems like South Panola is going to probably have a down year this year.
South Panola is going to win some games, but it's going to be a down year, and the dynasty continues to be quiet. When it comes to Oxford, before the season, I would have said Oxford for sure is going to make the playoffs, but the way Germantown and Clinton have looked, wow, those 3 teams for those last 2 spots, someone's going to go home and not make the playoffs, but yet probably be one of the 10 best teams in 7A. Because, you get 16 teams that make it, but I think, one of those teams is going to be a top 10 7A team and not even make the playoffs. Oh, man, that's like the SEC West, the old SEC West right there.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I mean, seriously.
Look, that Oxford Germantown game, that Oxford Clinton, those are going to be games of the week.
Yeah, those are going to be real good games. And, man, what a tough year for Murrah to go back into region play. Goodness gracious. I mean, they lost 52-13 to Callaway, so they're looking like this is going to be rough. I mean, they beat just to be clear, they beat Callaway 27-0 last year. That just shows you how much of a difference it is this year for Murrah, but that's a side note. Then we had a big game that we were looking forward to up in the Golden Triangle with Starkville and West Point. And man, the Green Wave just dominated the Yellow Jackets, which was a shocker. That sent shockwaves throughout the state of Mississippi. Not because we're surprised that West Point's so strong, but we felt really good about Starkville as well. And West Point just absolutely took them to the woodshed, 48-15. Now, this was one that I got on you. I picked West Point, and you picked Starkville. So that got me a point over you that time.
Yeah, I'm still in on Starkville. I just think West Point's the next level, right? And it's great because week 5, Tupelo and West Point, and those are now my 1 and 2 teams in the state in my rankings this week. If you want to go check out those on my TikTok, but West Point's one of the 3 best teams in the state. There's no doubt. I can say it with complete confidence. And when they go play Tupelo, it will be a fun game. I think Tupelo will beat them, but West Point is serious because I still think Starkville is arguably the best in their region with the Madison German, right? I think Starkville could still win that region. And that just says what West Point is. And you know, West Point fans like to call Starkville overrated. I go, no, they're not overrated. You're just that good. Take the credit. Take the credit.
I know it. I never get the you beat somebody and then say, man, you're overrated. It's like, how about you just hype up the team that you just smoked? That seems like the best idea.
Right. It diminishes your win when you call them overrated.
Yeah, but man, I am looking forward to seeing. Man, West Point's they've got Noxubee County next week, and then they've got Tupelo, which is something else. Man, listen,
what a schedule. What a schedule.
Man, they don't mess around. They don't mess around at all with their schedule. So that'll be cool to see, and I like that. I like the teams that play good non-region games. So now we're talking about Brandon and Madison Central, which was a headline game for the week. For Brandon, it was a bounce-back game from that Tupelo first week loss that was disappointing for them. Madison Central coming off of a week 1 win that was solid over Pearl, but nothing that was like a shocker or whatever. But it was a solid win. They were 1-0. This game was hosted by Madison Central. Brandon gets the win, even though they were down 7-0 at halftime. Brandon's able to outscore him 17-0 in the second half and take that win. And you picked Brandon, and I picked Madison Central, so I was wrong on that one. You were right.
So I kept Brandon in my top 5, obviously, this week, and I was proud. I was proud of Brandon to win that second half and come back. And Madison, they competed, but their offense is a little limited again. However, I'm not so sure Brandon's the best team in the South anymore. I don't know with what Ocean Springs did to Petal, and I picked Petal. I think Ocean Springs all of a sudden could be the best team in the South 7A. They could be because that's what I gathered from that game. I didn't gather much from the Brandon Madison side of things. I gathered, Ocean Springs got to be licking their chops.
Yeah, for sure. Listen, it is to be seen. And I know for Coach Lance Pogue, he was happy to get him a win as the Brandon coach, because that'd be a nightmare to start off coaching a team that's always good and lose your first 2 games. But the way Brandon plays their non-region schedule, it's set up to where all you have to do is play not quite to the top level, and you're losing games. I mean, you start off with Tupelo, then go to Madison Central, and then next week you're playing Clinton, who's a really good team.
You know who started 0-2 at Brandon?
Did Sam Williams start 0-2 at Brandon? Oh, did he? Oh, wow.
Yeah. He lost week 1, and then he went and lost to Madison the next week, and then they didn't lose another game for the rest of the season or something like that. Maybe they lost to Oak Grove in the regular season and then beat him in the playoffs, something like that. And they ended up in the title game against Madison, and then they lost 21-14. So technically, I guess you can start 0-2.
Yeah, you can. And then if you think about last year, and we're going to talk about Ocean Springs in a second, but last year they started off like 0-5 or 1-4 or one of the two, and then they went on a big run, losing in the semifinals to Brandon. But all these teams that play the really tough non-region play, you can't read too much into their non-region play because what they're doing is getting their team right for later in the season, especially if they're able to stay healthy through it.
You're always better if you play the tougher competition early. You're always better for it. As long as you don't get hurt playing the games, you're better for it.
For sure. Then we go to Poplarville and Stone, and this was a good one. And we picked 2 different teams. You picked Poplarville, I picked Stone, and Poplarville won 22-21. What a good game, though. But Poplarville able to get the win there.
Yeah, that was big for Poplarville because after week one, where they lose to West Harrison, and they were losing in this game, and I'm going, oh boy, this is going to be an 0-2 start, and they haven't even really left South Mississippi yet. And I was like, oh
Yeah,
boy, this is scary. This is bad. I think they have arguably one of the best running back duos in the state. Like, what is going on? They got a high level recruit on the defensive line. I'm like, whoa, okay, what's going on here? They got a good coach. How is this happening? Well, Stone, on the other hand, might just be better than we thought. But that was a massive win for Poplarville just to calm everything down here because Columbia looks serious in 4A, and the South is not going to be as easy as it was this past season.
yeah, for sure. I mean, listen, five A is going to be probably one of the most exciting. Well, you say that until it gets to the title game. They're playing West Point. I mean, goodness gracious, it's hard to even imagine them losing in 5A. But I guess we shall see. But I'm sure the South will be very, very entertaining at least. So then we're talking about Petal and Ocean Springs. You were talking about that a little earlier about how impressive Ocean Springs was. You picked Petal to win that game. I picked Ocean Springs. Ocean Springs wins 27-17. Of course, we're talking a lot of good about Ocean Springs, which we should be, but I also think that for Petal, I don't think this is a terrible loss because you're on the road. You lose by 10, not that much. Of course, you want to figure out how to win these big ball games if you're wanting to really compete. But this is a competitive Petal team as well.
Yeah. Petal's going to be really good by the end of the season. Marcus Boyles did this with Meridian, where he got him into the playoffs, where it was not looking great early, and all of a sudden, by the end of the season, you're like, oh, okay, they're pretty good.
Yeah.
I think Petal's going to be a lot better by the end of the season. However, at the same time, like I just said earlier in this podcast, Ocean Springs, watch out. That might be a team that, could maybe make a 7A title game. And I don't know. I'm super impressed. I'm sold. I'm sold. I'm in. I'm sticking my chips in for Ocean Springs.
Yeah, I think it'll be. Yeah, I think that'll be interesting. See how that goes. We got Terry and Canton, which is another game that we picked. We both picked Terry to win. Terry handled Canton 33-13, and obviously I was on the call for that game, and I was impressed because Terry was without their star running back. And and the thing is, there's a lot of talk around Terry after that first week that man, they just go. Their offense is one guy, one running back. Well, he couldn't play the next week, so they had to use their other options, and it really did work out for them on offense there. But the question about Terry is really going to come up when they go play that really tough competition, the tougher competition that's in their region. However, their region is not looking quite as strong as in the past 2 years.
Yeah. Terry definitely has a chance here to do something special, but again, they're in a wait and see moment here because
Yeah.
Murrah, not good. Can now 1-1 struggled with 2A Velma Jackson, who then I believe turned around and lost. So I don't know where both those teams are going to end up, the Can and the Murrah. So I just don't know if Terry has played anyone of significance where I can say they are this or they are that. Like you said, it's going to be the district time when I really learn about Terry. But you can't be upset 2-0, and you know what? You can only win the games that are on your schedule.
And that's for sure. And I think it'll be very interesting when they actually start to play against some of the teams in their region. And really, it's going to be West Jones and Hattiesburg. And those have been two teams that have been in the title games in these last 2 years. And Hattiesburg ended up losing. West Jones ended up winning the championship that year. So it's really going to be about that, how you can finish in your region. And really, you want to avoid Picayune as long as you can. And if you're able to do that, if you're able to come out a number one seed, you could possibly find yourself against Picayune in a South State Championship game if you're able to host until that point.
Yeah, and I'll have to go look to see which region, if they're both ones, who gets to host this year. I'll have to go look because there's a
Oh,
possibility it could be at Terry, it could be at Picayune, right? It depends, which, if it's the odd or the even regions that get to host, if it's 1-1 this year.
okay. Yeah, I didn't know how that worked. Okay. So, and I guess that's the way that they have to do it. You have to alternate it because you can't do it off of anything else. So,
Yeah, that's all.
uh,
That's only if it's a 1-1. Obviously, if it's a 1-3, the one gets to host.
yeah, It's been 1-1 the last few years for sure. In that with being Picayune and West Picayune and West Jones the year
West.
before, and Picayune and Hattiesburg last year. And
You know
so
what? I think it was at Picayune last year because the year before I think it was at West
it
Jones.
was it was it was at West Jones. So
So
yeah,
I guess so yeah, so I guess if Terry was the one, it would be at their place.
yeah, so see, that's huge, man. That's huge. So this is a year where if you're able to go get that one seed, you're at home throughout the playoffs until the championship game. If you're able to continue to win, that's a great
Yeah.
opportunity. And this is probably in the years that I have done Terry games, this is their best opportunity to get that done with the team that they have, and then the competition that's in the region. Just from my viewpoint, but we'll have to see.
Yeah.
And so we're looking at Noxubee County and Kipper County. So Noxubee handled them 36-12. We both picked Noxubee to win that game. So Blake, what do you think about that? Noxubee looks pretty good.
Not much. Just Knoxville's just really good. They're the best 3A team, and that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah,
Just,
they look
I
pretty
mean,
good.
but what do you want me to say? I mean, they're the best 3A team. There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah, and then a game that was this is gonna spark a conversation that we plan on having at MRA in Hartfield, and this was a big litmus test game for both teams. Um, but especially for MRA because they were able to take it to Jefferson Davis County pretty good, and so that was a question like, is that more MRA or is that more Jefferson Davis County? And I think from week 2 we see that it's both. um,
Yeah.
and but MRA really handed it to Hartfield on the road.
Yeah, absolutely. When we say both, I mean JDC then turns around and loses to Summerall. So, oh well. JDC might just be in a rough spot this year. MRA, they ran, I think, for almost 300 yards. They can throw the ball over the field. I said this, they might have arguably the best passing offense in the whole state, public or private. MRA,
Yeah,
I'm going to tell you because I'm going to make this video a little bit later. They're the best private school right now, even over JA. I'm putting MRA at the number one spot. That's the best team in the private school. That's just my opinion. They'll play the game. That's a great part. They'll probably end up playing twice, really. And I just think the Patriots are just so well put together. Defense is a little sketchy from time to time, but they're just so serious. MRA is one of the best teams in the state.
yeah. I would agree with you. I would have MRA at the top of the MAIS right now. However, I do think that Jackson Academy's biggest strength will be their defense, and so I think that MRA. Listen, if MRA is able to put up those kind of numbers on JA, then I think this thing's wrapped up in their favor. Because if they're able to score like that on JA's defense, that's going to be impressive. But man, that offense looks really good though. If anybody would be able to get that done, it'd be MRA.
Yeah, and you know what? They have great coaching. They have a great staff. I mean, they're confident. Their kids are always well prepared. And I know Jackson Academy love their coach as well. It's just that the MRA is going to be prepared for that game. And it may be one of those years where, and it's been like this recently, where a team beats one in the regular season and loses in the playoffs. It could be a situation where JA wins in the regular season and loses in the playoffs, or MRA wins in
Yeah,
the regular season and loses in the playoffs. Because I think JA is still working through. They got a lot of new kids on their team. So they're still going to be working through that. But MRA has taken the challenge early with the tough schedule. Now, of course, they're going to play Hartfield at some point, but they got to play them early. And they played the Ravenwood. They played the JDC early. And JA has played 2 private schools, Leak and I think Oak Forest. So not bad teams, but MRA is playing a tougher schedule early.
so how did I didn't see this. How did the Jackson Academy and Leak Academy game end? Like, what was the score of that? Do you remember, like, just ballpark?
Yeah, I think it was like about 3-4 touchdowns.
Okay. So, because I know Leak Academy, they're not at that size of like a JA or whatever, so they're a little low.
But
But it's
really
a good
good.
football
But really
program.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
it's a
really
really
good.
yeah, really good program. So, okay, so that wraps up our week 2 picks, the 10 games. And that finishes off with myself at 6-4 on my picks, and Blake, you were at 8-2. So you had a pretty good week there, man.
That's better than the ones I picked. That's better than the ones I picked on TikTok. I went like 4-6 in the ones that I picked for TikTok.
Yeah, you pick some probably some tougher ones. Probably at that point, you pick some
No,
ones
not
that.
necessarily. Just slightly different. It just happened that way. So what am I? 16-4, or am I 15-5? What am I the first 2 weeks?
Uh,
Do you
I
know?
so you went 6-4 the first week and five, and I went 5-5, and so you did better this
Oh,
week. So you end up 14-6, and whereas with
14
me,
and
I'm like,
six.
yeah, I'm 11-9. So
Ooh,
yeah,
you got a long way to go.
yeah, I got a long way to go. So we'll have to see. Um, I tend to be a little bit I get carried away with my upset picks sometimes. Speaking of that, if we pivot back to a little bit of college,